at the edge of memory. Hello! We're starting a little bit late and a little bit wobbly, and that's just the way it is today. Welcome to the 11th Lunar Conversation. In our series of 13, we're coming so close to the end. Last month, I told you we're flipping things around, so we did our 10th track, Tsuki, last month, and this month we're going into Moon Over Gaza. I want to give you a bit of background and context for this song. I want to tell you about the story of how it was formed. When I was starting to collect materials for this project, 13 Lunar Meditations, Summoning the Witches, I knew I wanted to have as many voices as I could of women and girls and female identifying people presented in this collection. And for me as an Israeli woman, it was very clear that one of those voices had to be a Palestinian voice. Because in the culture that I come from, many times those voices are not necessarily front and center in the Israeli context of culture. Those are voices that we usually hear only through news media and not so much in cultural exchange. So for me, it was very important to give voice within my world to a Palestinian writer. In 2012, a few years prior, I was living in Israel. After many years of not living there, I went back there for about a year and a half. And in that year and a half, I did a project that I called Roadsides. Roadsides was my first real communication with the geography that I'm from, with the stories of my own family, my own lineage and heritage, specifically with my grandfather. And in that project, I composed a poem by poet Naomi Shihab Nye, who is a one-woman marvel. She writes poetry and prose and children's books, and she curates anthologies of literature. She's really a remarkable writer and literary person. I composed her poem at the time. It was called The World in Translation. And as the album was about to be released, I really wanted to be in touch with her and to let her know. And through my good friend and incredible poet, Roni Somek, who is an Israeli poet of Iraqi descent, who also collaborates a lot with people in the Arab world. Roni is a friend of Naomi's, and he made the connection between her and I got in touch with her and sent her the album at the time, and she was very moved by it, and we stayed in touch. Fast forward again to around 2018 when I'm collecting poetry towards the recording of this album. I contacted Naomi and asked her if she would be willing to make a connection between me and a Palestinian writer from within Gaza Strip. She suggested she would connect me with her friend Jeed, who has a book club for girls in Gaza. She tried to get a hold of Jeed, and she couldn't get a hold of her. So I was left wondering what happened to this woman. And so was she, and she was very worried. And I asked Naomi if she would be willing to write something. Her answer was that it was too much, it was too hard, it was too heavy for her at the time. So she said, I can't. But what about this poem? And she sent me a translation of a poem by Mahmoud Darwish, and the poem is called I Come From There and I Remember. I fell in love with this poem, and I reacted to it immediately. But I really wanted an original work for this piece of the album. So I wrote a poem myself in response to Darwish's poem. In preparation for today, I kept asking myself why this particular conversation feels so vulnerable to me, more than any of the other ones that we've done. Even though my mother was on here, my daughter was on here, we talked about my great-grandmother, we spoke about menstruation, we spoke about a lot of very vulnerable, very personal things. But I think the vulnerability that I feel today around this subject is to do with the fact that when I think about Israel-Palestine, that is the place that holds the most hurt for me. And I feel the accumulated trauma that has been lived through for generations in that geography. I feel it in my body. One of those times that I really felt it was when I wrote this poem. I think many of you know me as someone who's generally an optimist, generally I have a pretty positive outlook on life. But there are times, especially around things surrounding the place that I come from, that I get really overwhelmed with anxiety and depression. And that day, there were already demonstrations at the border of Gaza and Israel. And that day, a young woman, Razan al-Najjar, who was a paramedic, a Palestinian woman in her 20s, she was shot and killed by the Israeli soldiers. And her death rattled me profoundly. I don't remember exactly how the day started or where it went, but I remember being in bed and not being able to get out of bed and crying for hours over this woman who I don't know, and reading this poem that Naomi shared with me, and holding the pain of her missing friend that she wanted to connect me to and to encourage her to write something for this project of mine. So I sat and wrote the poem Almost Summer from that place of profound sadness for what was happening in the place that I come from. I sent this poem to a few Israeli friends, and a few times the comments that I got were, but who are these people that you're referencing? And specifically, Razan For me, her death rang a million bells, and I realized how much, as Israelis, we have the ability to to put things aside because they're very hard to hold. And her name didn't mean much to my friends who I know care about so much. And yet it was another of many, many, many deaths that just traveled and didn't land. But for Naomi Shihab Nye, it did ring the bells. And when I sent her the poem, she was very moved by it and decided to write a poem back that corresponds with my poem that I corresponded with Mahmoud Darwish's poem. So we created this braid of poetry. Naomi wrote from the perspective of the moon overlooking Gaza Strip, and she titled her poem Moon Over Gaza, which is where the track got its name. I grew up in Jerusalem in the 90s, and 26 years ago today, Yitzhak Rabin was murdered. When I was growing up among bus bombs and cafe bombs, there was also a feeling of some hope for change. And even though I feel that that specific hope that was held at the time, I don't know that that hope is exactly the same one that we can hold today or that we should hold today. As an artist, I feel that it is our job to reimagine realities, to reimagine the world as it can be and as it should be. Tomorrow we're entering the Jewish month of Kislev. And this month is a very special month, and it corresponds with what's happening in many cultures' calendars. Kislev is the month of dreamers. In the Torah portions that Jews read this month, there are 9 detailed mentions of dreams, dreamt by 6 different dreamers. So in this month of dreamers, I really want to hold a space of hope and love for the place from which I was born and raised and where my family is from for hundreds and hundreds of years on my mother's side, and my father's chosen home. And I want to wish all of Palestine and all of Israel and all of the people living in that geography and holding space for that geography. I want to wish us all Chalom, a dream, and Hachlama, healing, as we proceed in our lives, because it's the only way that there can ever be survival, if we actually believe that Hachlama, that healing, can come. And for that we need the dreamers, the poets, and the artists, and the activists, to hold that space and to imagine it and to sustain it. Let's listen to the song. It's called, again, Moon Over Gaza. The music was composed by me, and it's performed by Jake Clayton, Aram Bajakian, and myself on vocals, Ayelet Basaldi on violin, Stefan Diamantakiu on contrabass, and Ivan Bamford on the drums. Thank you. dee dong, da 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 dum, dee da 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 dum, dee dong.
I am lonely for my friends. They like me, just stood my coming. I think they looked up at me more than other people do. I have been staring down so long, see no reason for the sorrows humans make. I dislike the scuffle and dust, bombs blasting very much. It blocks my view. Of sorrow and grieving feels different afterwards. Different sheen from a simple desert. There are whole countries I could call a.
I sit on an island of dismantled words, children, and heartbreak. I come from there and I cry. Come from there and I try.
Children who say my name like a prayer. Maybe it is wrong that I went so far. Maybe it is wrong that I am so far.
But my distant moon often pulls me away from home.
I come from there, and I remember I was born like everyone is born. I have have a mother and a house with many windows. And I have brothers and friends in a cold prison. I have a wave that seagulls snatched away. I have a view of my own and an extra blade of grass. I have a moon past the peaks of words. I have God sent food of birds and an olive tree beyond the can of time. I come from there. I return the sky to its mother, when for the mother the sky cries, and I weep for a returning cloud to know me. I have learned the words of blood-stained courts in order to break the rules. I have learned and dismantled all the words to construct a single one. Home! 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 Home!
ونوصل رسالة للعالم إنه إحنا بدون سلاح قادرين نعمل كل شيء.
So that was Moon Over Gaza. At the Orchard of Pomegranates this month, we are doing a month-long workshop called Letters and Dreams for Our Ancestors. And in this workshop, we're diving into ancestry, which is exactly melting with the theme of today's conversation. In a moment, I'm going to share with you a pre-recorded conversation with Aram Bajakian, who you just heard do an incredible spoken word over Mahmoud Darwish's poem, I Come From There. And Aram speaks in this conversation a lot about his heritage as an Armenian, a person of Armenian descent, and his relationship with the Turkish Ottoman Empire ending, and what happened to the Armenian genocide. In this workshop at the Orchard this month, I'm playing with finding out more about a legendary uncle who we don't even know whose uncle he was, on which side of the family. But the legend about him is that he hid in an attic for 3 years from the Turkish military. He didn't want to be drafted to the military, so he hid for 3 years and eventually volunteered, or rather surrendered himself, and was taken to war, where he died at the very end of World War I in the Turkish military, which he so tried to escape. And my dear aunt, whose birthday it is in a little while, was named after him. So he was important to someone, but what's left of his story are just fragments. And from these fragments, I'm hoping to explore this month at this workshop. In listening to this conversation with Aram and seeing how all of these histories intertwine, I just was thinking about how incredible that is, that, you know, people growing up in very different parts of the world, our histories braid with each other, our stories intertwine, and every reality has so many stories and is broken down to humans at the edge of each story. And people who live like me right now, like many of us, live in countries like Canada or even the US to a degree. We get to live our lives and react and interact with our own stories and our own personal adventures. But some geographies bring their own story into yours, and shape you. I want to share with you this special conversation with Aram Bajakian. And I have to stay on screen, so in order for it to look just a little less weird, I will put the record cover to hide my face so you won't see me double. See you in a bit. Hi, Aram.
Hi, Ayelet. How you doing?
I'm good. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. I see your fireplace.
You see my fake fireplace with no
Oh, yeah.
fireplace in it, and my records.
Yeah,
behind me.
yeah. I know exactly where you are.
So, Aram, I'll just first of all share your website with people so people can go in and look more into who you are and what you've been up to and what you're gonna be up to.
Yeah.
So things are changing in your world.
Yeah. I started a PhD program in like 6 weeks ago.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, it's
What
really
is it
wonderful.
gonna be about?
It's studying music in the Armenian diaspora.
Wow.
So basically looking at what happened after before the Armenian genocide, what was music like amongst Armenian communities in Eastern Turkey and Armenia, and also throughout the Ottoman Empire. But then what happened after World War I and the Armenian genocide, as the different groups moved to different places, Lebanon, Syria, Greece, and mostly I think the United States is what I'll be focusing on. What happened to the music? How did it change? And yeah.
Is there much documentation of the Armenian music pre-genocide?
Well, there's some. So this is where it gets interesting. So, this is like pre-1915. So there's not a lot of recordings anyway. But there are recordings there was a large amount of people who came to the United States of Armenians who came to the United States to study, or not to say to work. And their goal was either to stay in the US and become citizens, but a lot of them want to actually go back to the Ottoman Empire. And this is where it gets really interesting, because there's a new book that came out earlier this year by David Gutman, which gets into, Armenians were the one group of people where it was illegal for them to leave the Ottoman Empire. So because the concern was that they would go learn about like ideas of freedom and politics and come back and politicize people in the Ottoman Empire, and then they would want to form their own country. So because of this, there were even to go from one city to another, Armenians had to check in with the city they lived in, and then once they got to the new city, they had to check in with the police where they arrived, just to keep track of where they were traveling.
Wow.
So it set up all these clandestine ways of Armenians getting out and in of the Ottoman Empire. So and they would do this illegally, go to the US, work and make money, and then come back. And so David Gutman's book gets all into it. But one of this, like you think, like it's easy to think, oh yeah, you just travel, get on a train or a car, but like there were no roads in a lot of these places then. So it was a really difficult, and took months and months and months to go from, say, like central Turkey down through Syria and Lebanon and Israel, and now and the place where most people left was, or where a lot of people left was Alexandria, Egypt, because it was on our reaches. There were it was less, I guess, scrutinized. So they were able to get in and out through Alexandria, Egypt. And there was a community there, still Armenian communities, I think, in Egypt. But so, yeah, it's just that as a whole lifetime of work to study, just that.
Wow.
So anyway,
what is the book called?
What is it called? It's by David Gutman. And do I have the book? Oh yeah, here it is. It's right here. It's called The Politics of Migration, Armenian Migration to North America, 1885 to 1915.
Wow, I'd be.
And so he talks about this fellow right here who became a U.S. citizen.
The list of it.
There. Yeah. He fought.
With the camera.
He's Armenian. He fought in the Spanish Civil War. Became a U.S. citizen, but if you went back to the Ottoman Empire, your citizenship of the U.S. would be relinquished. You were like, it was cut off. So you basically had people who were not allowed to be Ottomans, not allowed to be U.S. citizens. They were stateless in a way. So
right, like a lot of Palestinians are today.
Yeah, exactly. But the interesting thing in regards to music is that Armenians were here and they recorded. So there's lots of recordings but there are recordings pre-1915. And then there's recordings that were occurring during World War I of Armenians in the United States who were reading about what was going on. Like my great-grandfather came in 1911
to the US
to work. In 1915, he's reading what's going on. He can't go back. He doesn't know what's happening to his family. And then it was only 10 years later that he was reunited with his wife and my grandfather. So,
wow. So they were still there. They were
still there. And they in June of 1915, they were rounded up in Sivas, what's present day Turkey. And they were forced to march to Aleppo, Syria. His wife or my great grandmother and grandfather and his baby sister and older sister. So yeah.
So how did he reconnect with them?
They were in Aleppo for a while, and then they went to Marseille, and then traveled through Canada to Fitchburg. And I don't know how they knew where he was or were able to reconnect with him. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, but the music is like, so there's this idea of like maybe that music is representative of, that was recorded in the US is representative of what was happening before. But there were also Armenians who stayed in Turkey, like Udi Hrant is one of the most, revered oud players, and he but he was an Armenian who lived in Turkey, in Istanbul, and after his family survived the genocide, he went back to Istanbul.
Wow.
So there's that music too, and so it's just it's quite a complicated
history. Yeah. And you went to Jerusalem some years back and visited the Armenian Quarter.
I did not visit the Armenian Quarter because we only had 3 hours sound check, and I was afraid I would get lost. So I was like, I kept I put my my history and my heritage aside to make sound check.
Nice.
Sound check was always the most important thing. Yeah. So there's just so many different facets to the diaspora of Armenia. But there was always for me this sense of like, because I don't speak Armenian. Like when I joined the Armenian club at Columbia University and everybody's speaking Armenian, I always felt a little bit out of place. So, and I think that's a common feeling that some people have, but there is definitely like a community,
And you're feeling drawn, it seems to me, like through your work, you're feeling drawn to that part of your history.
Yeah.
So what is your source of like fascination there? Is it purely musical or is it something else?
Well, I me and ethnomusicology go back a long way. Like my first girlfriend in high school studied ethnomusicology. That was her major at Tufts University. She was studying gamelan. And when I went to undergrad, like I wanted to study with Yusef Lateef because of how he brought different musics into his own music. And I went to Ghana when I was in undergrad to study West African drumming. But to me, it always felt, I had thought about going and studying ethnomusicology, but it always felt false to me to like study African drumming because like that's not my heritage. At the same time, it was difficult to access in those years. There was like Harold Hagopian and Traditional Crossroads, that record label. They were putting out lots of records, album CDs of Armenian music, but it wasn't like today where you can go online and immediately find all sorts of stuff and recordings. So like maybe 5 years ago, I discovered a record label called Canary Records, which is based in Baltimore. And the owner of it, Ian Nagowski, he like collects these Armenian 78s, digitizes them, cleans up the sound, and not just Armenian, but like, all Near Eastern, Syrian, Lebanese, also and also all the immigrant music that came to the US. So he cleans them up and puts them and researches the performers. Wow. So what I think is interesting about that is that you now have like an easy way to access documentation of this music, and then you can go and my feeling is that with my musical knowledge, I'll be able to sort of make connections between different things. So so that's, and it just feels more real than going to Ghana and studying like Akan bell patterns, which I love. It's great music, but also like, that's not, it doesn't necessarily feel right for me to become a scholar of West African music.
And I think, I think in some ways when we study the culture of our ancestors, through that, we also discover ourselves in some way.
For sure.
And you're discovering things through this music, I'm sure, about your own grandparents, your great-grandparents, and beyond that. It's not just about, I mean, of course, the sounds and the rhythms and the instruments have an appeal on their own, but when you link that with a personal heritage, with a family lineage, that certainly has a different resonance.
Totally. And that's where it gets like, I mean, like the music is amazing, but like what's for me most interesting is like, how do you talk about you know, when there's been so much trauma through generations, how do you talk about like the fact that like there were Armenian musicians in Turkey after the genocide? How do you bring that subject up?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how do you not dismiss their music as Turkish? Like a lot of Armenians won't necessarily want to listen to what, like, you know, for me, the identity of what it means to be Armenian is listening to Kef music, which is like played by Richard Hagopian and all these like second generation Armenians in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s who would play this music, but really a lot of it is Turkish. So, or you know, it might be Armenian words, it might be Armenian melodies, but it also might be Turkish melodies. There's Turkish, so it all kind of mixes together. But there's some Armenians in different communities who don't appreciate that or don't understand. It's become more politicized. So even just in my name, Bajakian, Bajak is not an Armenian word. It's a Turkish word.
What does it mean?
It means leg. And my name was originally Kara Bajakian, and Kara means black. So black leg. So just in my name, there are all these conflicts because my name is an Armenian name, but it has a Turkish word in it. So, and it means, we were always taught that it meant butcher because my family, we were butchers. So that's why I like kebabs so much. I never tried to be vegetarian.
Vegetarian stint.
I've tried, but I always go back. It's always the kebab that does in the end.
You can be, you know, like there are pescatarians. You can be a kebabitarian.
Yeah, exactly. I'll only eat kebabs.
I don't eat meat except kebab. I can't not.
Exactly. Isn't that horrible? But also kind of funny. So like, yeah, so these are all the things. Like even like I ordered an oud in March, and I was trying to find the best oud maker, and there was this one maker who the sound of his ouds just spoke to me, but he's in Izmir, Turkey. So it's like, you know, do you order from a Turkish oud player or oud maker? You know,
How
like.
do you feel about that actually?
Well, because, you know, my feeling is that and this is the thing, I started following him on Instagram, and like, you know, I'm reading like, is he doing these like pro-nationalist posts and things? Like, what is this person? But, you know, my thinking about it is that okay, maybe even if he has those politics, even if he would be a genocide denier, which there's so much of in Turkey, in the scholarship, because it's illegal to even talk about the genocide. You can be thrown in jail.
Wow.
Like, so people can talk about how the genocide didn't happen, but if you try and question that, it can create lots of problems. But I've thought, like, you know, anyone who decides to become a luthier in their life, like, that's not who the fight is against.
That's not my enemy.
Exactly. Yeah. He's someone who like loves music so much that he decided to make ouds, and I'm gonna like, you know, if people are gonna call me a traitor because I bought a oud from him, like, no, that's not the right person. And if I can make beautiful music with his oud, that's a good thing. So, so yeah.
Do you have your oud? Can I?
Yeah. So it's like they're a little flashy. I'm not so into the aesthetics of it.
Okay.
They're pearl inlays. It's a little bit flashy for me. But I just like the
cool though. It's sparkly.
Yeah, I'm not into the sparkles, but I love the way it sounds. Like the. So I'm learning all about makams. I've been studying with Ara Dingshian, and it's a whole, like, I don't know what I'm doing.
It's a whole world, yeah.
It's a whole world, yeah. And really beautiful music, and yeah, I'm loving it.
Do you feel like it's changing things for you as a composer, as a, you know,
it's definitely changing like
other realms of music?
I mean, I'm not really composing in it, like, it's definitely making me more aware of nuance in pitch variations, because like with Rast Makam, like the third is a little flat. It's like basically a C major scale, but that the third isn't. It's and then like there's another piece I was working on where it has like B flat, like on B flat. Do you have perfect pitch?
No, but I can hear the difference.
Okay, cool. So it's B flat that's slightly flat.
Yeah.
B flat that's right on. And then B natural that's slightly flat.
Wow.
Like there's all in
You're
one.
walking that very thin line.
Yeah. And so as I become more aware of it, I'm able to hear like the other day I was listening to Michelle by the Beatles, you know that song?
Yeah, I saw your beautiful video that you made.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I love playing it. But I was listening to the harmonies, and when they first hit the notes, it's slightly off before it goes into pitch. And I was like, ooh. So I'm, hearing these subtleties is something that I think it just kind of like went past my ears before. And now I can start to hear them and appreciate like, oh, they're really playing a nice Rast, or now they're going to Ushak, or Hijaz, or all these different makams.
Did you ever hear Armenian music growing up, or not at all?
Well, I have some memories of like going to picnics and like my grandparents' wedding anniversary, where there was a band playing. And like going like once a year, we would go to the Armenian Orthodox Church and hear the chanting. Okay. So, which is like
but
its
at
own.
Home, like the records that were playing were not of Armenian traditional music.
No, we didn't really. I mean, my mom was really good at exposing to me music. She like got me into Ayelet Khan when I was the Indian sarod player. So like, but like, she also wanted me to listen to Kenny G. So, but it was all with the right idea. She had the right idea. But I would go to the library and just, listen to records there, gamelan and stuff. But I never found any Armenian things.
Right.
So I don't.
So it's
but
really a new kind of sound for you that you're exploring in some ways.
Yeah, which I think is nice because, like, I have, some musical knowledge from my past, and I can now learn something new.
It's exciting. Who knew that at our late age we can still have first experiences? I love that.
Yeah. I mean, heck, gotta live each day.
Totally. Aram, so we're here to talk also about the song "Moon Over Gaza."
Yeah.
Talking about Israel-Palestine is like walking into a minefield.
Yeah. I'm taking a course in West Asian history. We're on the Israeli Palestine now, and it's just like,
it's like it's just impossible to navigate in some ways. It's just like, where do you drop the needle as to where does this song start?
Right.
Like narratives are so vast. I'm hearing you speaking about the Ottoman Empire, and I'm remembering my grandfather. When he was already senile in his old age, he would start chanting the Ya Inglisi Ibn Kalb that he would sing with his Palestinian friends, protesting the Brits trying to go into Palestine, because like the Palestinian population was pro-Ottoman. I feel like there are so many sub-narratives in this story.
Yeah.
And my dialogue with that whole region and with that whole story is also partly a dialogue with him as someone who's lived there and lived the life that he led. And this song, I mean, I love your spoken word part at the end of it.
It's so intense to listen to. It's interesting because like like I didn't know so much then when we recorded that. You know, like I didn't know about like Israel-Palestine conflict. I didn't know about Armenia and the genocide, like so much history I didn't know. So it's interesting to hear it and now be like, you know, feel the weight of the words in a different way, which I didn't, which maybe that's some, the not knowing is what made me perhaps able to do it in a way. But then also thinking about home, like, you know, home is such an interesting thing as like you learning about Armenia and history, because it's something I'll maybe be talking about as I do my work, but like I can't really go back to Turkey where my family's from. You know, I mean, I can't. I might be able to.
You can
like,
go as a tourist, but you couldn't move back.
Yeah, and even going as a tourist now, there might be some. You know, it's not necessarily the government there isn't necessarily that friendly now. So, you know, so this idea of home, like where is home, you know, is a really interesting thing when it's been you know, taken in a way, you know, and not that like I want to go and move back and start a farm, like let's be realistic, but to be able to know, you know, those places. So it's really and the idea of, you know, I have this blade of grass, I have this tree, you know, like it's really powerful.
Yeah, so Nomi wrote a poem from the perspective of the moon called Moon Over Gaza, and that's what Jay is singing. And then my poem was called Almost Summer, and that's what I'm singing. And the part that you're narrating is I Come From There and I Remember by Mahmoud Darwish. And that poem, I knew it had to be there because it's so much part of the whole story. But at the same time, I was feeling like, who can hold this text in this band? Who can hold this text, and where would it feel respectful also to, you know, to give that voice?
Yeah.
And I felt like your connection to your own Armenian heritage and your, you know, your ability to express in the way that you do, I felt like you could do that text justice. And I really feel like you did every time I listen to this track, especially in that spoken word section. I feel my heart breaking.
Yeah.
And, you know, I literally tear up every single time.
It's interesting because I had never done something like that before. Ever. You know?
I know. It was a leap of faith for both of us.
Yeah, I remember, like, but I also had like a shift. I was working with another artist for a few months, like earlier in that year, and she had wanted us to like sing some backup vocals, which I was like, I don't do backup vocals. You know, like, you know, I'm a guitar player, but I was like, I'm just gonna do this and do what I need to do. Like, this is what this artist needs, right? And so I think if I hadn't had that experience, it might have been, but it was also like, it never, with this, it was like, oh, this is what, with that project, with the other one, it was like, this doesn't feel, it just feels like I'm performing. But with this, it felt like something really real was trying to come out. And almost like when I listen to that track, I hear it and I don't really hear me. I hear it's like some other thing that's coming through that's trying to speak. Even the guitar parts, I'm like, I don't play stuff that's that good. That's not me.
I think you do. Yeah.
But like when I hear myself saying, it's like, oh wow, there was something that needed to happen in that moment. And now it's interesting hearing or knowing more in a way about it. It's and that usually happens with me, that there's a retrospective like understanding of what something means, you know.
Somehow though, intuitively, I feel like you had a connection with that text that feels like it feels very deep, even if you didn't know the details of the story of it and so on. But
Yeah, totally. There was something about it, and yeah, I remember it being like, what's going on, because it was like some other thing was, even like, because I was playing the guitar while saying the text.
Mm-hmm. And you echoed your narration in the guitar.
It wasn't like I like did a guitar solo and then the text over that. It's like which is like, oh my, like I was talking to my daughter last night, like it's really hard to play guitar and sing at the same time. Like I don't know how to do it, but then like somehow there was something that was helping me, and so yeah, it's really it's so interesting. And now reading about the Israel-Palestinian conflict now in this class, and seeing how there's so much division, and how this track was able to like bring different peoples in and different voices, and just sort of, I don't know, I feel like musicians have to be like a way of showing like, hey, there's something else. I was thinking about this last night because there was a New York Times article about olive oil from an Arab village in northern Israel, and I was thinking like, it was talking about the love of the trees, and I was thinking like, that's something I don't have. Well, yeah, but it's also like it's because I haven't had that opportunity, you know, to really love a land in that way, and so I think it also talks about this kind of like rupture or fracture that has happened with so many people in the world, and so maybe I think when talking about that idea of home, it's like there hasn't really been home for me. You know, like New York City was my home, now Vancouver's my home, but are they really like, is it a home where I'm gonna like write a poem about like Vancouver? Like, not really. Nothing against Vancouver. I love Canada.
No,
it's great.
of course. But is it home like Palestine is home for Mahmoud Darwish, or like, right, or like it was for my grandparents who've never left that land, right? They grew up on it. Their families have been on it for hundreds of years. They don't know any other home. And I think for you and me, as also as immigrants, that sense of home it changes a lot. And for me, I left my country of origin, but for you, you didn't grow up in the country from which you stem.
Right. Which is like, it makes it's always interesting going to other places. Like I grew up in central Massachusetts, and it always felt weird there. But like, you know, when I hang out, whenever I hang out with you, I always feel like there's something about like the hang that feels more like home.
Thank you, and thank you for this conversation today, Aram. I love you.
Yeah, I remember when we did the recording, I went to get some bagels. And I hadn't brought gloves, and it was Thanksgiving in the U.S., which is different than Thanksgiving. So I'm calling my family with my bagel, but like my hand is about to fall off because it's so cold. So yeah, that was, and then it started raining. I remember it was really
raining. God. Yeah, it was November. It may have even been snowing. It was a heavy November weekend.
And then I saw that Rihanna had recorded at the studio, and I was like,
I said Rihanna.
Yeah, it was that was amazing. So
I'm sending you all the love, Aram. So very, very much.
I hope I get to come to Montreal soon, and we can hang out. And
I hope so too.
I'll bring my oud this time.
Yes.
All right. Bye, Ayelet. And happy birthday, Jay.
And we're back. Thank you, Lana. I'm so glad that you feel this way. Thank you, Aram. Is DB in the house?
I'm here.
Hello,
I'm in a house.
DB. Hello, hello,
Maybe
hello.
not a home, but a house.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes. So
Wow.
today, because of this
I
big,
just,
it's a big conversation. It's not a little one. So we're stretching a little beyond the hour. Um,
yeah.
but we're doing what we need to. And thank you for those of you with us listening. I saw that Lana and Jen are here with us, and that's so wonderful. And Aram referenced Jay's birthday. So Jay Clayton, who we heard in this song so much, is just celebrated her 80th birthday. Shall we?
Yeah.
And we did a little compilation for her. Should we listen to that?
Well, I just thought I would want to just say a couple of things
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that
yeah.
interview and to you because we've been talking about how we move the song order around in order to just because you were feeling challenged by how to begin to have this conversation. And in our private chat, I just let you know that, um, I was really deeply moved by um, how difficult it was for you to come to this place to launch this conversation. And I thank you so much for that. And the fact that, sometimes we're just not quite ready to have that conversation, but it is now. It's fantastic. And I'm thanking you for that, first of all.
Thank you.
Um,
And I'm seeing that
and I
Aram is
learned
watching, so thank
a
you,
lot
Aram.
more.
Thank you for being here, Aram. Sorry, yeah, you were saying DB?
Um, and then I was thinking just a little bit about what Aaron was talking at the end, um, and about not knowing so much about the piece when he did it, and not feeling the weight of the words. Um, you know, when we don't know so much, sometimes the words can just come through anyways. And I just sort of thinking about a feminine lunar kind of analogy of bleed through. And I think about archiving of old tapes and how sound bleeds through from old tape. So you get this ghosting, things that just appear. They're sound apparitions, and and they come through in a different way. And I think that's such an important reminder when we talk about art making, um, being having a presence to bring things forward, and not all at equal paces, and but that the energy and the resonance comes through. And so, and it certainly did. I mean, I remember being in the studio when that was recorded. um, and things like he doesn't play guitar as great as that. Okay, Aram. Um, we'll have a conversation about that. But yeah, the complexity of playing and reading that together, and something else came over. It makes me think about devotional music and how the divine uh, speaks through you. And and that came through. And so you created the structure for that. The structure came from this trying to piece together this sense of loss and lost people. And um, so I'm just quite moved by learning so much more about this. And I'm not complaining about not knowing that. It's just that is how we learn, right? Over time, when we get to come back to things and revisit and learn more about it. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yay.
Yeah. And I keep thinking about, and I think you were the person who first introduced me to it, the land acknowledgements that are spoken in Canada at the beginning of every social event, I would say, right? Pretty much.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and that's so meaningful, and I really hope that there comes a time when that kind of acknowledgement can come also to those geographies across the seas. Um, just an acknowledgement of just accepting, and hearing Aram also speak about the Armenian genocide and the genocide denying in Turkey and how common that is. Um, I think just acknowledging other people's story and other people's timelines and narratives is already a start of healing. Just observing it and acknowledging it. It's not enough, but it's definitely a step that is necessary.
Absolutely.
Let's take a moment to wish Jay a happy birthday before we go into Scorpio season talk.
Fantastic.
Happy
Yep.
birthday to you, Jay. Happy birthday to you, Jay. Happy birthday, Jay Clayton. From the orchard of pomegranates and Lunar Meditations communities. Happy birthday to you.
Jay, happy birthday. You're an incredible inspiration to all of us.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jay. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jay Clayton. Happy birthday to dear Jay.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy
birthday to you.
birthday.
Happy birthday, dear Jay. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Jay.
Happy birthday,
We
Jay.
miss you. We love you. We drink a big toast to you.
Long life and music.
Enjoy your huge celebration. You deserve all of it. And we hope to see you very soon.
Okay, come over here for spaghetti and meatballs.
Yes.
All right. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to Jay.
Happy birthday.
I had just gotten my oud, and I said I'll play Happy Birthday for you on it. And I also thought, like, when am I ever gonna play Happy Birthday for someone on the oud? But now's the chance.
Birthday to you. Compleanno feliz. Happy birthday, dear Jay. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jay. Happy birthday to you.
Hi Jay, happy 80th birthday. I love you so much and I'm so grateful to you for all of your teachings, all of your music and all of your magic. I love you. A little candle for you. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you, Jay Clayton, wonderful mentor. Happy birthday to you. I love you so much and I'll never forget you. Happy birthday, Jay Clayton. I'll never forget those times at Ayelet's place. Happy birthday to you. I'm so honored and thrilled to send you a happy birthday video.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday,
Happy
dear
birthday
Jay.
to you.
Happy
birthday, birthday
to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, happy birthday.
You
Happy birthday
so
deeply. Happy birthday to
Happy
you.
birthday to you. Happy
To
birthday
you.
Happy birthday
to you.
Happy birthday to you.
Wishing you an awesome, love-filled, sun-filled, laughter-filled, music-filled, another whirl around the sun, Jay. All the love.
Hey,
Happy birthday to Jay. I love you today.
My
just
dear
like every
Jay-Z.
other day.
Happy
Have a wonderful
birthday to
celebration.
Can't
Mwah. Big
believe
kiss.
you're 80. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy
birthday to my hero, Jay Clayton.
Happy
Jay Clayton. You know
dear
you are my
darling
sister
Jay,
too.
I love
Happy
you so.
birthday.
Happy birthday
to you.
It's only a number. Let it go.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dearest Jay. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Jay.
A life in music. Oops, that's me. That's all of us. That's all of us.
Yes, Jay! Happy birthday to Jay. This incredible human being. And in this song, how amazingly she embodied this big spirit of the moon.
Yeah. Well, it makes me think about when we were doing the recording that Jay was going back a few days later to celebrate whose birthday? And she was helping out. Was it Sheila Jordan?
No, it was her own.
Jay-
It was in November. We recorded almost exactly 2 years ago.
No,
from
but
now.
she was going to go and help someone else with their birthday concert.
Oh, maybe. I
Somebody
don't
who was
remember.
turning 80. Yeah.
When she was here 2
so
years
she
ago
was gonna-
for the intensive, she was here for her birthday. and we celebrated with her.
Wow.
But not for and the recording. You're right. It was earlier in November, maybe, or later. I don't know anymore.
All I know it was November. That was about it.
Sheila,
But she
Lana
was
is
going
saying
off.
Sheila was turning 90. Yeah.
Who was?
Sheila Jordan.
Yeah, well, Sheila Jordan. And she was going to go and help her out at that concert. Yeah. There you go.
Right. She flew back in time for Sheila's big birthday concert.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are we ready to see
Singing.
what Birdie has to say?
I'm super ready.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's do it. And
Here
I
we
just
go.
want to shout out to Birdie, who also has a birthday this month, who had her birthday
I'm
a few
Birdie
days
from
ago.
Four Directions NYC, and I am so happy to be working alongside Ayelet. I contributed some lyrics to this album, and I'm really happy to be sharing my knowledge and wisdom on astrology and Native American mythology every month as it applies and pertains to what's happening. This month is going to be particularly scorpionic. By very early in the month, we'll have 4 planets in Scorpio. And you're pretty much going to expect that sort of intensity until the end of the month when the sun moves into Sagittarius. But let me back up. We start today with this new moon in Scorpio. And this moon is also squaring Saturn. So I want you to see this new moon as your homework for the eclipse that's coming up, because in this new moon, you're getting a chance to go, okay, how can I trade the set of rules that I have for another set? For things that you already know from the past few months of astrology. You already know need to be transformed, need to be switched out, are at the end of their rope. So this shouldn't be too head scratching. And that, by the way, that's also the energy of Scorpios. By the time she gets here, it's like she knows that you know what's going on, and that you're aware of the cycle of transformation that is taking place, that needs to take place. So, the best, well, this is always the case, but especially this month, the best approach is surrender, silence, solitude, so that you can just have your moment of peace and clarity and ceremony around what you're letting go of. And this is also Native American Indigenous month, November. And so, my best notes to you are go out and commune with nature. Firstly, rest in her, look to her for knowledge and wisdom, and follow the cycle along with her. Because these changes that are happening are also very big changes. They're not minor. And you're going to need support, and you're going to need to commune with the elements, the natural elements, and work together. You do have Venus moving into Capricorn as well on November 5th. Capricorn's an earth sign. It's going to give you this sense of feeling at home in your body, feeling at home in your environment, connecting to your allies and your helpers and your friends. And that should help quite a bit. On November 19th, we have this November full moon in Taurus, lunar eclipse. And this is when all of this energy comes to a head. This is when we're at the peak of transformation. So if you were resisting releasing those foundations, now they're going to be really shook at their core. with this eclipse. And you should feel that a few days prior, at least, and a few days post. So again, with that new moon, the more you prepare to release and surrender and go with the change that's occurring and match your efforts to this, the less of a shakeup this will feel like. If you don't, it's going to feel dramatic, like eclipses can. And this is since 2014, we haven't had eclipses on this Scorpio-Taurus axis, which is, in my opinion, one of the more intense axes to have eclipses on, because each of those signs is like an eclipse, because they're fixed signs and they're here to kind of hold it down while the change occurs, because they're strong enough to do that. So this axis is about transformation in your energy ties, in your possessions, in your bonds, and these things that are really important to you. So this is not an easy road that we have in front of us in November for these first few weeks. It will lighten up on November 21st when the sun moves into Sagittarius. And hopefully by then you do this letting go, going through these ceremonial processes, and you'll be ready to kind of move ahead, look at the next horizon, be free, be light. The full moon in Native American astrology for November is called the beaver moon, because this is when they set the traps to catch the beavers, whose fur they will need for the approaching winter. It's also called the frost moon because this is the time of the first frost. And on November 28th, we end the month with a beautiful conjunction, Mercury-Sun conjunction, which is really the time where all of this comes together. So, you've let go of the things that are stifling you or not conducive to growth. And then you have this conjunction at the end of the month that's saying, okay, let's grow. What are your ideas? Ideas will be really abundant at this time. And this spirit of optimism that you can pull this off, that you can go forward with this new vision. And you're going to need that after this difficult month in Scorpio. So it should feel like a relief, and lean into that light. And what I advise you to do here is, like, the minute that Sagittarius season starts, take advantage of that spirit, because it's such an optimistic spirit, unlike any other, in my opinion, in the zodiac. And it comes after these kind of heavy vibes of Scorpio, where we're really doing the deep inner work. And so with Sagittarius, it's like we get the reward of, just playing a bit and connecting like children again to our environment, because it's like we experience this death during Scorpio, the death of our old selves. So we're really being reborn during Sagittarius. I just want to thank you all for allowing me, firstly, to share these moments with you and this information with you. A huge part of the Native American culture is gratitude, and everything they do is based on gratitude, from their hunting to their communing to their ceremonies to their most basic simple interactions. It's sort of like an energy that they're carrying with them, and it makes such a difference. And to experience that type of love that Native Americans have for each other and for the earth and for energy itself, for things that are invisible, is something I wish for you all this month and every month. And I really hope that the changes go well for you, and that you can lean into nature as well as this divine intervention that's taking place in our universe right now. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next month.
I had once been a woman. I had once been a human. I had once been made of trees and huckleberries. I had once been a woman.
We're coming close to a close.
Deep breath.
Yeah. Doing the deep inner work. I'm feeling it this month.
Yeah.
Between the workshop at the orchard and this and tomorrow's online concert. A lot of deep inner work.
Well, we're going into darkness.
I actually love this time before daylight savings changes. I love it. I love that the darkness comes so early and the day awakes so late. There's something really peaceful about this darkness.
I won't even get started on that conversation, but I would be happy for it to stay just as it is.
Yeah.
Which is what we're trying to work on the West Coast.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Thank you, Ayelet, for
Thank you.
today's presentation. Well, I was kind of a backseat driver, and it was nice to just witness.
I can't believe we're almost finished with our lunar conversations. Next month is our last proper conversation with the song Desert Moon. And then the very last one will be Traveler Woman. So again, we're shifting the order of songs around a little bit. But in the very last one, I think we're going to kind of do a retrospective of the whole year. As we're starting the new year, we'll just kind of look back and see everywhere we've been and all our guests, all our snippets of all of our different conversations, and have little conversations of our own. And I just want to say a huge thank you to you, DB, for your partnership in this whole journey from conception till now. And also to Laura Silverman, the amazing Laura Silverman, who's womaning the backstage of this exploration.
Show yourself. Yes.
Laura.
Yeah.
And to Naomi Shihab Nye, who has also been such a partner in this process of making this particular song, and Aram, who was wonderful in this conversation and in this playing, and just also such a partner in this making. And also to Payang, who is co-teaching with me this month and is such a light. Payang, you're such a light. You're such a force of nature, and an amazing, amazing singer and amazing teacher. And to Jay, happy birthday to Jay, and happy us for having Jay in our lives. It's really full of gratitude for all of these incredible people on this journey with us. I wanna share a taste of tomorrow. So tomorrow, DB and I are still waiting for the moment when we can perform this piece together. And in the meantime, tomorrow I'm doing a little online concert via the Metropolitan Museum. We were invited by my good friends Ethel, who are a beautiful string quartet based in New York. They curate a concert series called Balcony Bar from Home that's presented through the Facebook page of the Metropolitan Museum. And I'll be singing some of the songs from this album and a few new songs that are inspired by dreams. So I'm gonna share with you a little bit of what's coming tomorrow. That's at 5 o'clock on the Metropolitan Museum's Facebook page. And I think, DB, shall we bid everybody farewell with this little clip?
Yep.
Um,
We'll see you in a month
and we'll
on
see
the
4th of December, December 4th.
There we go.
For the 12th Lunar Conversation.
Yes.
Desert Moon, and hopefully Jay will be with us then. That's the plan. See you soon.
Bring me all of your dreams, you dreamers, that I may wrap them in blue cloud. העוד ישנם כל אלה, העוד מותר בלחש בשלומם.